Good morning,
Hi.
Medina.
Hi, Carolyn. Hi, Marianne.
Hi.
Good to have you all here. Welcome. Just have a look here. Okay. Welcome, everyone.
Welcome.
Get yourself all settled. Get your water, or your coffee, or tea. Or you've had your breakfast already. It's still a little early for me. Well, it's 9:30. That's not too early. I started at 8 this morning. But I'm on the West Coast, so I'm in Pacific time. How about you, Marianne? Whereabouts are you?
Buffalo, New York. It's 12:30.
Right, so it's lunchtime then for you.
Yes.
All right.
And cold. It's cold.
I'm cold too. Like the sun is shining, but it's been cold the last few days, and
no, it's 40 something here.
Oh, that's really cold. It's not as cold as here, but my plants are not happy. They would like to have a little bit more going on. Like
mine is not
more
either.
sunshine. Yeah.
70 here in mid-California, ladies.
Oh, that sounds lovely.
But it's going to be 100 next week, so that won't be.
Here we go.
That's my my cousin that lives in California. She loves to come for a visit up here to see us in Canada, but not yet. The borders aren't quite open, so.
Wish they would open.
Yes. Yeah, I agree. It's getting there. I think we're getting close. All right, so I think we're all set now.
That is correct.
Welcome, everybody. We are live streaming, just so you're aware, which means we've got people that might be coming into the class and listening in and watching in. They can't participate necessarily, but they can definitely hear us. So just keep that in mind. They can't see the chat. So if we do messages on chat because of things specific to the class, they cannot see that. I mean, I might read out some things, but if it's going to share with the class so we can all learn. So thank you all for being here. Max is here to help us with any tech issues, and also just to go through and ensure that we are all the right people, that we should all be here in class. We've been having some little issues you might have heard in other classes with disruptors, people that have nothing better to do than just come and annoy us in our classes. So if you wouldn't mind just like putting your, if you can, I know who Carolyn is, so Carolyn Platt, you're fine. If you can just put your camera on just for a split second, just so we can just make sure we know that you're the right person and you're not some 20-year-old or I don't know, even an 80-year-old sitting there coming in to disrupt our classes. We are working on our security 24/7 to make sure that that does not happen. So that's great. Thanks, Gladys. Hi, Joyce. Good to see you. And Paul's here. And John, I don't know if I've met you. Maybe I have. Maybe I haven't. So
this is my first time with you.
Okay, so that's why I didn't recognize your name. So this is great. I'm glad you're all here. Let's get ourselves settled and we'll get ourselves started. I'm going to start by sharing my screen. Just make sure we're all in the right class. There's so many amazing classes now on Get Set Up. I'm just amazed at all the variety we have. I really would like to start adding to my morning routine one of the exercise classes in the morning. You know, a yoga class or the Tai Chi class. That's something I really want to try. I do love when I see others. Like sometimes I go and do the live stream as well, and I will just pop into a class and just see what it's all about. So so Max will do his stuff in the background, but we'll get ourselves started. So today is about loving our heart. And I named the class that because I thought that was kind of a nice name, but also I mean, it's basically about heart health. That's what we're going to learn today is heart health, but we're going to learn some real holistic things that I found really interesting when I was doing the research on this. Now, you may have had a heart attack in the past. You've maybe had some congestive heart failure issues, or it's just you're worried about heart disease because it runs in your family. Now, if it's any of those things, or you're just interested because you want to just make sure you're healthy, well, you're in the right place, because we're going to go through some amazing little things to help us be more alert and more ready in case something, a heart issue does come our way. My name is Ravina. I'm one of the guides. So welcome to the new people here. Welcome to John and some new people that I have not taught before. My life has always revolved around health and wellness and prevention. That's been my strength and my area of, I want to know what we can do to prevent ourselves from ending up in the hospital. As a nurse, I was working with people in the hospital already. I want to be there two steps ahead so that you don't end up sick and injured and in the hospital, or watching a loved one in the hospital. So I love to mentor people with health. And so that's what this is all about. And if you've come to any of my classes, I am very holistic because I have functional nutrition. So a lot of what I talk about and give recommendations on is around what you can do for yourself, along with what your doctor is supporting you on. But I look at things of what we can do ourselves to heal ourselves naturally, to keep ourselves in good shape. We do learn from each other. So if you can put your camera on, that's wonderful. We can help each other. We are recording, so you can ask for a copy at the end of the class. And we don't get paid for any promotions that we might, anything that we might talk about in class today. We don't get kickbacks or anything for mentioning it. Not like on TV when they carefully display the can of Coke or whatever. So today we're going to learn and examine the different heart attack symptoms. This is really important. We need to know what might be something that might be a sign that our heart is having some troubles, before we have the troubles. We're going to learn some prevention strategies, like what are the things we can do to make sure that our heart stays healthy and strong until we die. That's what I want. I want a strong heart, a strong, healthy heart until the moment when I am going to have, pass away. I don't want to have any heart issues. I want to live my life in a vibrant way until, 100 plus, if I can. We're going to learn some interesting facts about the heart, which I just found fascinating. So if we get time, if we don't run out of time with all the questions, we will get to those facts. So can anybody, you're welcome to just write into the chat, maybe just let us know where you're from, because I always find that interesting. What can we do to take care of our heart? Just, you can just type in 1 or 2 words if you want. What can we do to look after our hearts? Or what are you doing right now to look after your heart? Anything?
Well, we can exercise. We can eat the better food. No starch, fatty food, fried.
Yeah. Diet, exercise, yoga. Good ones, John. That's great. Exercise and eating right. Diet's a big one, right? We always see that one come up. Diet. There's lots of things that we've been taught about for helping our heart. Unfortunately, our hearts kind of go under the radar a little bit. Like, think about it. Our heart is working 24/7 for us constantly. It never gets a break. It's not like, say, our pancreas gets a break when we stop eating, for example. Our heart has to beat constantly. So our heart is one of those organs that we really need to take some good care on and look after. Absolutely, genetics well, genetics certainly, in terms of taking care of our heart, we might end up, maybe we're lucky and we got some good genes from our family. That would be nice. That would be great. You never know, right? Like, I know for me, diabetes runs in my family, so that's the one I have to look out for. But so far, we've been pretty good with heart. So when we think about our heart is what? We have oxygen-rich blood that gets pumped through our body everywhere. That's the core of every aspect of our well-being. So our heart is the core. Yet we pay little attention to it. And that's why I created this course, because it's just to bring attention back to the heart, unless it's Heart Month or there's Heart Health Month. internationally and locally, we don't really pay it that much attention unless we've had a problem. Then we do. So our hearts are really no bigger than our fist. It's not that big. And it pumps blood around 60,000 miles of arteries in our body is how our heart is working and pumping to all the parts of our body. That to me is amazing. It's beating around 100,000 times every single day. Now, the only time that our heart gets a rest, does anybody know when? Well, unless we're dead, but when does our heart get a rest? Does anybody know?
Between
Sleeping?
Yeah,
When
well,
you sneeze.
that too. When we are sleeping and when we're in deep sleep. So has anybody ever been asked or decided to take their resting heart rate? Which means as soon as you're awake, before you start moving around and even sitting up in bed, you can take your heart rate. That's what we call our resting heart rate. Now you will find that your resting heart rate might be even 10 to 20 to 30 beats slower per minute than when you were awake. So it's pretty interesting. Like I took mine the other day. Like my regular heart rate beat is fairly not fast. It's very average. It's like around 80 beats per minute, or 77 beats per minute is my average. But I took my resting heart rate the other day and I was at 59. So again, before you start moving around or talking or anything like that, you can take your heart rate. You can just, take it right on your wrist, and you take the two fingers and just press it lightly there, and you can time it for a minute and see what your heart rate is. So mine is down like around 20 beats less per minute in the morning. So when we're in deep sleep is when our heart can finally take a little bit of a break. It can sort of slow down, still has to keep working, but it can slow down. So just think about it. When you have high blood pressure, what are you doing? You're putting strain on your heart. If you're overweight, if the blood pressure is one of the worst, our hearts are working overtime. They're working. Marianne, did you have a question?
Yes, a regular heartbeat. What changes? Or does it?
Our hearts will go around. And I don't know what the average, it depends on your age group and whether you're male or female, but let's say around 80 beats per minute is an average per minute. When you're in deep sleep, your heart rate might drop by about 20 beats per minute, like mine did. Mine was 59 beats per minute. I don't have that during the day. My husband's was down to a 40 something when he was at rest. So his is like typically around 60 something in the day. So all I'm saying is your heart gets a little bit of a break, not completely a full break, but it can slow down and have a little bit of a break.
But even with the regular heartbeat?
With your regular heartbeat, yes. If your heart is at 90 beats per minute regularly, it's working harder than, say, my husband at 60 beats per minute. So elite athletes, when they get very, very into strength training and cardio training, their basic heart rate can be in the 50s walking around. So their heart's not working as hard. It doesn't have to work as hard. So that's the goal, is to get your heart rate. If you're specifically working on your heart health, eventually your heart rate will come down. Like mine used to be about 80. It's now around 76 naturally, or 74 naturally, because I'm in better shape now.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Carol, did you have a question?
Yeah. What causes heart palpitations?
Heart palpitations is when your heart speeds up, and it speeds up maybe because of a panic attack. It speeds up because there's a lion chasing you. It speeds up because you're exercising. Maybe you're on the treadmill and you're exercising. Heart palpitations, when you can feel your heart beating, that means that the rate has increased. It could be the sign of a panic attack. It could just be something something's not going well inside your body. Now, there's a thing called atrial fibrillation, where somebody's heart rate skyrockets up to like 200 some beats per minute. That is an actual medical condition. But again, I'm not a doctor, so I'm not here to like get into nitty gritties of medical conditions, but just generally, I wanted you to get an understanding of the fact that this beautiful organ of ours works 24/7.
Does dehydrate? I got tested once and she said it was normal, but she tested me anyway, I think an EKG. But does dehydration cause that at all?
Yes. Yes. When you're dehydrated, your heart doesn't have the fluids and the stuff to do what it needs to do. And that can also raise your heart rate.
Because
Yes,
she told me at times I'm dehydrated. So
yes, yeah, that's a big one. When we're dehydrated, our body functions can't function properly. Our brain can't think. You might have brain fog. Your liver can't do its cleansing at nighttime properly without proper water. If we're dehydrated, our heart has troubles doing its work. So yeah, absolutely.
Okay,
so
thank you.
You're welcome. So let's look at the screen now. So if you look at the screen, we can see that the heart attack symptoms. So for women, typically for women, we have about an 8-ounce heart. That's not that heavy. Our heart, and a man's is around 10 ounces, so it's a little bit bigger. Typically. So for females, some of our symptoms can be quite subtle. Maybe we're feeling a bit nauseous. Maybe we've got that indigestion. Maybe we've got that ache in our shoulder and it comes up through our neck and into our jaw. That one's that's pretty common to get that pain, or it just feels like there's a stitch in your neck. It does feel different than your typical arthritis pain. For example, somebody asked me that. I said, you will know if your heart and your body is trying to get your attention to say you're going to have a heart attack. You will feel like there's something not right here. You'll be like going, what's going on? It's going to feel not good. Now, for men, because we have some men here, your typical symptoms for a heart attack, because your heart is bigger, that's really the only reason. You're going to feel that chest pain, maybe. You're going to feel the pain right in the chest, right by the heart. We also call that angina pain. Now, I want to be clear. If a man's having indigestion and feels that awful feeling in his neck and you're just going like this and you don't know what's going on, that could also be a sign of a heart attack coming. So you may have, and women, you might feel chest pain. So it's not like you can't have these different things. This is typical for men and women because of our size of our hearts. You know, some people say, oh, he's got a big heart or she's got a big heart. You know, maybe we say that, but we do have variations in the size of our hearts. So this whole scenario with nausea, indigestion, aching in the shoulder and the neck and the jaw happened to my father in his older age. So he was a little bit like in his 70s. And he was doing something strenuous, walking up the stairs to go to bed. And he stopped at the top of the stairs because he was feeling that pain in his neck. And he was like, do I need a glass of water? Should I have a glass of milk before bed? He just didn't feel right. My mother was smart enough to see him and go, something's wrong, called 911. And he got rushed to the hospital. He was having a heart attack. His coronary artery was 90% blocked. So it's about blockages in our heart, in our arteries. That's what causes us to have a heart attack. The blood can't flow. So not to scare us, but we should know these things. So interesting fact, you are more likely to have a heart attack when? The most likely time, Monday morning. Why is that? The doctors call it the witching hour. Why is that? Because the morning time is when our cortisol stress hormone naturally peaks in the morning. So that just means that, you know, we all have cortisol in our body. When we get angry at something that happened to us at our work or volunteer job, our cortisol can spike. If we are under chronic stress, our cortisol levels stay up there. But naturally, our cortisol, we need to have that stress hormone a little bit so that, like, when the lion is chasing us or a bear, like say you live in the backcountry or, you know, I don't know, you're golfing and all of a sudden there's a bear on the side of the golf course and you need to get into the cart and get going pretty quick. We have cortisol to help get us our adrenaline and get us going. but it naturally peaks in the morning. Why is Monday bad? Because, hey, we've just come off a weekend. We were relaxed. Maybe we overate. Maybe we ate a lot of fatty stuff because we had a family event. Monday mornings is the worst time and the most common time for a heart attack. So
what if you have adrenal insufficiency and you have cortisol?
Well, adrenal deficiency, I mean, certainly, you know, I'm giving general information about the heart today.
Right.
We all come with maybe some other medical conditions that can alter what happens to us. So, so this will all be good for you to know this information, but certainly, you know, you're going to talk to your doctor about what any changes that you're going to make. So, you know, I'll just leave it at that. But let's look at the top 5 ways to show our heart love. The number 1 way is to get away from smoking. So quit smoking if you are a smoker. Get away from secondhand smoke if you have, I don't know, somebody in your environment that's smoking all the time. My friend had a husband who smoked. She hated smoke. She had her air purifiers in every room just to suck out the smoke, because he worked from home and he sat and smoked all day. He was a chain smoker. So don't underestimate how bad secondhand smoke is. Now, we are lucky now in life because, you know, 10 years ago or 20 years ago, people smoked everywhere. Like I'd walk outside my house or my condo building and people were there. I'd have to go through a plume of smoke just to get out of my building. But now we've gotten really strict in California, in Canada, in other parts of the United States. You know, smokers, we're making it harder and harder for them. That's probably a good thing, because maybe they'll get the support they need so they can stop smoking. I mean, I just came from my optimal brain health class. Do you know that a smoker has a 45% higher risk of getting dementia just because they smoke? So smoking, if you can just get that out of your body, like stop smoking, that will be the number 1 thing that your heart will thank you for. The next one is movement. All I ask is that you have some form of movement every day. No excuses, right? We've got Get Set Up, we've got chair yoga, we've got Tai Chi, we've got Qigong. We've got all sorts of movement. Is just moving your body, whether you're sitting in a chair, if your mobility is good, getting out for a walk, maybe going for a swim, even using a rebound or one of those little bouncy things that, you know, to kind of get your body moving. Aim for around 30 minutes a day. It doesn't have to be all at once. So if you've got knee issues, you can do 10 minutes, 10 minutes, 10 minutes. Maybe you go for a 10-minute walk before or after a meal. Just get yourself moving. Your heart will be so thankful that you're moving your body. The next one is the heart healthy eating. This means eating the rainbow. If you can think about every time you go grocery shopping or order online, that you get 5 different colors of food I don't want to see all beige in your cart. I want to see 5 colors: the blues, the reds, the oranges, the yellows, the greens. Like if you say 5 colors, you know that you're getting some good variety. Our heart needs healthy fat. You would think we would be scared of cholesterol, but we need good cholesterol. You need that good HDL cholesterol for our blood to move through our bodies properly. That's very important. So eating the rainbow. So think about at least 5 colors. Number 4 is maintaining a healthy weight. So I get it. A lot of us, unfortunately, are overweight. Like I still am considered overweight based on my height and the weight that I am. I still need to maybe drop a few pounds. Every pound I lose, my heart is happier, because your heart doesn't have to strain so much to get the blood pumped to all the parts of the body. If you check your waist size, for women, we should try to be under 35 inches. For men, 40 inches. That's kind of a good way to test. You can buy calipers. Do you remember those from high school? They're basically called fat calipers, but they're like these little pinchers, and you can get it in the certain parts of your body. I know it does kind of like hurt a tiny bit, but you can pinch like parts of your body to check and see what fat percentage you are. Our heart will be happy if you can reduce your percentage of fat. Some of us are 50% fat, which isn't great. For women, we want to try and get down to 25, and for men, because they're not childbearing people, naturally, if you eat a good diet and take care of your body, you can get down to around 20% or 18%. For a woman to get below 25%, you have to be like quite the exercise elite athlete. So 25%, but a lot of us are in the 40 to 50% range, just an FYI. All right, the fifth one is around good sleep. I talked about this in my last class. Without a good sleeping regime, we are at risk of having a heart attack. We are at risk of higher obesity. We are at risk of higher blood pressure, heart attack, diabetes, and depression. So trying to get a good night's sleep should be your number one goal, especially if you're retired. Like when we're working and we're raising kids and we're off to soccer and we're doing this, I can see, how do we get a good night's sleep every night? Baby's crying, kids are crying, whatever's happening. But we're tired now. Most of us are retired. If we're not getting good sleep right now, make that your priority. You know, some of us don't get great sleep. Maybe you need to have an extra little nap at night, in the day, to help compensate for your lack of sleep at night. But there's things you can do for improving your sleep hygiene. That's what we call it. All right. And as a little bonus here, I've got, Carol, sorry, you have a question.
Yeah, what's the difference between a heart attack and a stroke? Because I always associate the two together.
Well, when you have a heart attack, you're basically, your heart is not able to pump the blood to all of your body. And so it's basically your heart failing. And it's going to cause you to have all sorts of problems. When you have a stroke, that's to do with your brain. That's where, like, maybe oxygen didn't get to your brain because of your body systems. And so stroke is about the brain, and heart attack is obviously the heart not having difficulty. So they're both not good. Let's just say,
Right.
Having a heart attack or having a stroke is not good. Having a heart attack and getting it looked at right away, you can get what they call stents put in, where they go into the blood vessel where it's blocked, and they puff it out a little, and they put this little metal, it's called a stent, to hold the blood vessel open there where it's kind of gotten clogged because of all the garbage that's been stuck in there. When you have a stroke, you're not getting the oxygen rich blood to the brain, and now you've had oxygen deprivation of your brain, and causes you to have a stroke, which can cause you to have paralysis, like you're paralyzed on usually one half of your body. It's very hard to recover from a stroke. That can take a long time. A heart attack, sometimes you can recover faster because you just change your diet, you have the surgery. With stroke, as a stroke, your body's suffered and now it has to heal from it. So there, I hope that makes explains it to you. Now, the bonus here with the heart, how can we help our hearts? Schedule in some fun. Don't underestimate number 6. This is bonus, but this is actually very, very important. So spending time with friends, laughing, enjoying the music you used to like to listen to, all that helps our heart. When our heart is singing, when our heart is happy, when you have that vibrant social network, what does that do? It brings our stress down. Therefore, our heart is happier. I hope that makes sense. So don't underestimate this one. This is so important, especially right now when a lot of us are isolated. We're living on our own. We're ordering groceries online because we're scared to go to the grocery store. Maybe when we were younger, like I remember my brother, he loved music. He loved his classical music. He loved anything to do with music. Well, now he's married. His wife's not really into music. He never listens to music anymore. That used to be his relaxation time. He'd put on these beautiful classical albums. I mean, he's a guy, but he loved this beautiful classical music. And because he's married, he's got kids, and everything revolves around the kids, the dog, you know, everything else. He doesn't listen to his music anymore. So I encourage you, get back to something that gave you pleasure, something fun, listening to your music, laughing. How many of us have watched British comedy on TV? Anybody? Fawlty Towers, Absolutely Fabulous. What are some of the other ones with Mrs. Bouquet? Oh my gosh, like I have laughed my butt off listening to
Monty Python.
A Monty Python. Me and my brother used to go back and forth saying, you know, oh, you know, he cut his arm off, like funny stuff. Monty Python's hilarious. So whatever, don't forget about your childhood or growing up. Like if British comedy, I mean, that's just, I mean, not saying British are the most funny, but I have to say their comedy stuff is pretty hilarious. Keeping Up with Appearances. Keeping Up with Appearances was the one with Mrs. Bouquet. Her name was Mrs. Bucket, but she called it herself Mrs. Bouquet. Hilarious, like laugh out loud, hilarious. Laughing, you'll see, actually helps our heart. So we'll get to it. All right, here we go. Oh, it's right here. It's the next slide. So when you laugh, the lining of your blood vessels actually relaxes and then expands. And when it relaxes and expands, blood can flow through it 20% more. So guess what? Laughing is really therapeutic. So there's laughter yoga now. There's like laughter classes you can go to. I haven't seen it here yet. I get set up unless it's there already. But where you go to a class and it's just about is that right?
Yeah, I went to. It's so funny. You feel weird doing it.
Yeah.
And you know, when we look each other laugh silly, it makes us laugh.
Yeah.
You know, a certain way you laugh, it's fun.
Yeah, and you know, it's funny because it goes from the fake laughing to like listening to other people, and then you get the giggles, and then you start laughing. Look at what it's doing for your heart. Your heart loves it. So when was the last time you laughed? Like I like to joke around with my husband, and like we joke and make fun and can be kind of sarcastic because, you know, my parents grew up in England, and so you got that sort of British humor, sort of, you know, that kind of like snarky, like sarcasm. But when was the last time you had a good laugh?
Does Get Set Up have laughter yogurt?
I don't know. I would have to check it. I hope they do. If they don't, I hope they get it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, Paul likes the British humor. I love it. I like Has anybody watched Fawlty Towers with Basil? That's hilarious. There's only about like 13 episodes, I think, but I've watched them over and over and over again because they're just hilarious to me. All right, that's our heart. So let's just do a little bit of trivia now. All right. Well, it's not like, you know, you're not going to get a big prize or anything for getting the trivia, but let's just see where we go with this. So fun facts, the very first open heart surgery, when do you think that happened? What year, or like around what year do you think we had the first open heart surgery?
1812.
All right, that's a good answer. Back in 1893.
God.
1893. Good. Yeah, I mean, I thought it was in the 70s as well, or sorry, in the 1900s at least.
That's what I thought. Yeah.
Back in 1893, Dr. Daniel Hale Williams did the first open heart surgery successfully. Like, I think the patient survived. So I think that's, you know, you want to see that the person was successful with them. What about the youngest person? Who do you think the youngest person was to receive heart surgery? How old were they? They were young. Yeah, they were
surgery
one,
at birth.
1
minute, 1 minute old.
Yeah.
God.
1 minute old. So they knew that the baby had a heart defect. And so as soon as the baby was born, they had to do the surgery or the baby would have died. And so the baby survived. Yeah, I find that's pretty interesting. Fun facts. If you can see this little picture here, this little guy, he's teeny tiny. He's called a fairy fly. He's a type of wasp. They are known to have the smallest heart of any living creature. Teeny tiny heart he must have. Like if you think of us as humans, our heart's only 8 to 10 ounces. Ounces is not very heavy. You can imagine how tiny this little guy's heart is.
I don't need it.
Huh?
I don't. Oh.
gonna turn this off.
Yeah, but I,
The American Pygmy Shrew. This guy has the fastest heartbeat. So when we talked about us, we're kind of like what, around 80 beats per minute on average. This guy's heart beats 1,200 beats per minute. That's pretty fast. Very, very fast. He's a cute little guy though. Look at him. Who do you think, guess who has the largest heart?
Elephant.
That's a good guess. They're pretty big. Anybody
Okay,
else?
rhino.
Rhinos are pretty big too. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, Pamela, she's the winner there. The blue whale, specifically the blue whale. Okay, so here's the thing. I looked it up. I just talked about humans having about 8 to 10 ounces is how heavy our heart is. Guess how heavy the blue whale's heart is? 400 pounds on average for its heart. That's huge, right? Think of a 400-pound person. That's a pretty heavy heart. Pretty fascinating. But look how big this creature is. He's a pretty big thing. So here's something I want to talk about real quick, because we've heard about this. We've heard about this in movies. We've heard about this, maybe our neighbor. Is it possible to have a broken heart?
Yes.
Yes. It's called broken heart syndrome. That's the true name of it. Broken heart syndrome. And it can have very similar symptoms to somebody having a heart attack. What's the difference? Well, if you're having a heart attack, it's because of heart disease. You've got plaque in your blood vessels and that causes a heart attack. But what causes broken heart syndrome? It's that big rush of stress hormones from an emotional or physical stress event. So maybe you just heard some really bad news. I won't. Let's not traumatize ourselves, but like say, you get the knock at the door, that's everyone's biggest fear, especially if like you say your husband's a police officer or, in some kind of, and you get the knock at the door and you open it and there's the sergeant, something, you'll get that rush, that big rush of stress hormones. What about if a loved one has just passed away? Yeah.
Of course.
We feel sad. Our heart is hurting. We can have this broken heart syndrome. Now, what I think can happen, and you hear about this, everybody's got a story of somebody they know that, somebody's passed away, the spouse passes away like a week later, a day later, a month later from a broken heart because they didn't really have any significant medical conditions. I do believe that somebody who dies of a broken heart likely had some heart disease as well. So it was probably a combination of their heart not working at prime, like working really well, and this rush of ongoing stress hormones. They're missing their loved one, and then something happens. And we see this happening in the world and in our neighborhood. So this is real. So I wanted to point that one out. So basically, in summary then, and we have lots of time for questions. I went through this fairly quickly. We've examined the different heart attack symptoms for men and women. We've looked at and learned the 5 ways to improve our heart health. And then we've looked at some trivia. So we have lots of time to, let's just stop sharing for a second. Does anybody feel that the way that they're eating right now might be affecting their heart in a not such a good way? Anybody started really thinking about their foods that they should eat for healthy eating?
yes.
Yeah. And a lot of times, one of the big things that we are feeling is lacking or is a problem is the salt intake. We feel, because it's bringing our blood pressure up. Now, I talked about this in the last class on optimal brain health when we talked about blood pressure. If you have sustained high blood pressure, you're actually permanently damaging your heart. Did you know that? Yeah. So it's not reversible. Like if you damage your heart, the heart's going to be damaged and it's going to have that much harder of a time carrying your body and looking after you. So we want to not have elevated blood pressure for a long time. We don't want that. So that's great, Pamela. You know, we are all looking to improve our eating habits. During COVID, last March, I was stress baking. Have you heard that term? Like, I was stress baking. I was stress eating, but I was stress every day I'd come up with a new recipe. And my husband knew that I was stressed, so he didn't stop me. He knew that I needed to do it. I was making bread, I was making buns, I was making cookies, I was making enough for, you know, the socializing we would do when we would have people over, but it was just him and me. So we both gained, like, honestly, last year, you know, the COVID-19, we gained those 19 pounds. I was around that 19 to 20 pounds we gained last year. So when I started at Get Set Up in January, I was a lot heavier than I am right now by about 20 pounds. So that, on top of the stress hormones, was a lot of strain on my heart. So what did we do? We cleaned up our diet. So we cut out the number one thing that your heart will be happy about is the sugar. Sugar is the killer of everything. Too much refined sugar. If you've got a bag of white sugar in your house, I hope it lasts you a year, because really we should not be putting refined white sugar in anything. There's things, most things are sweet enough. If you go on a sugar detox, which is what we started with in March. We did a whole month of no sugar, refined sugar, but we were eating fruit. So we were eating natural sugar that occurred in food. That one's okay. And then after we got used to that, we cut out fruit for a while just to cut sugar completely out of our body. Why did we do that? Because we were giving our pancreas a break. If you can give your pancreas a break, it gets a chance to recover. So the main thing with the heart is bringing that blood pressure down. So salt can be a problem. Now, I'm not talking about Himalayan pink salt, Celtic salt, sea salt. Those salts are very important that we have in our diets because it adds other minerals to us. The regular Windsor, you know, I'm mentioning a product, Windsor iodized salt is just plain old refined salt. That's not the best salt. Does anybody here use sea salt or Himalayan salt or some other type of salt? Yeah. The reason why you're doing that probably is you heard about the health benefits for it. If you have high blood pressure, the immediate action is to get that blood pressure down into a normal range. So your doctor might say, stop salt altogether or stop it, make it very minimal. We want you to get the blood pressure into the normal range. And then you can start adding the good salts back into your diet. Now, with salt, I was going to say, let me just think.
What I did when I got high blood pressure, I just put down the salt shaker, just didn't use it.
Yeah, don't put it on the table.
Exactly.
Yeah. Now, I'll put it in the chat here. You guys have probably all heard of Mrs. Dash. That is a type of, there's no salt in it, but it's all the dried herbs that gives it a nice little bit of flavor, like a little bit of, it feels almost salty. So Mrs. Dash is a good replacement. And there's something called Herb Amer. I'll put it in there. I use Herb Amer. Now, with Herb Amer, there is some sea salt in there, but it's mixed with like leeks and all the dried vegetables like Mrs. Dash. And it gives it it flavors your food really nicely. So the number one thing you can do if you are worried about your blood pressure related to your heart is to stop eating packaged foods. I know it's hard. Maybe you could reduce the amount of packaged foods you're eating. And I'm talking about like canned soups and canned stuff and packaged ready-made meals. All of those are full of sodium. And Pamela has mentioned McCormick's has some salt-free seasonings. Yes, they do. That's also, McCormick's is a very popular one.
Where do you get Herb Amer?
Herbamare, I see it now where I'm in Canada, but I see it in my health food store. I see it in my regular grocery store. Whole Foods sells it.
Okay.
You don't have to go to expensive Whole Foods to get Herbamare because I've seen it in other stores. But if you've got a local health food store, I bet you they carry it. And they've got,
How do you spell that? How do
yeah,
you
I've got it.
spell that?
Yeah, I put it right in the chat. It's like the word Herbamare. So you can see it in the chat there.
I use lemon and onion to season my food. Is that all right? I use lemon, instead of using salt.
Absolutely. Do you know, this is a funny thing. I'm going to tell you guys this because we have some time here. Flavoring your food, we forget to use our spices. Like we've got all these amazing spices. And if you've taken my natural remedies class or my healing foods class, you'll know that like even cinnamon, sprinkling cinnamon on your porridge or your oatmeal, cinnamon helps to reduce blood sugar, like sugar levels in your blood. There's lots of natural herbs. We have amazing herbs in the world. Hopefully you've got a beautiful spice rack in your house and you're try different herbs. You don't always have to just go salt and pepper. It's not just about salt and pepper. Now, here's a step further. You know how we have herbs and you had them for like 5 years or 10 years or 15 years. You've got, you still have that saffron. It was expensive. It's still sitting in your cupboard. You don't know how to use it, but it's there. Our herbs can get old and stale as well, and they're not as potent. So for my husband's birthday, and I'll just put the name of it because I'm very impressed with this company. Now this might be maybe a little bit more expensive than you're used to for buying herbs. It's called Burlap and Barrel. They're a company in the United States, I think, that source out the best top spices around the world. And they call it one source, meaning they go to that one person's farm and say, okay, you guys grow, I can't think of something, but they grow, well, I bought a bunch of different things. Whatever they grow, it's coming right from that one source. I'm trying to think of some spices I bought for my husband. So for his birthday, I ordered some spices from this Burlap and Barrel online, came to Canada, came to my house on time for his birthday. And one of them is like a tomato powder. So the person grows tomatoes, but it's this beautiful tomato powder, which I'd never heard of. So in the last 3 days, we've been using bits and pieces of some herbs I've never heard of and some of these spices. Our food has been amazingly flavorful without all the salt because we're using fresh herbs. So I'm not telling you to throw anything out, but if you've got paprika that's been sitting in your cupboard, like I have my mom's paprika, my mom passed away like a few years back, and I know she's probably had it for 10 years. It's old. It probably doesn't add anything to my food, but this beautiful smoked paprika that we just purchased, we put a little hint of it in the food, amazing flavor. So don't forget to make sure your spices are fresh. That's a really, really, really great way to improve the flavor of your food without sticking the salt on it. All right. Does anybody have any question? Carolyn, you have a question.
Do you have anything that you use for sugar to substitute, or you don't use?
Yes. Yes. For sugar, if you are worried about your insulin levels going crazy and stuff, the one fruit of sugar that doesn't affect as much is, put it in the chat. There's a package, a little pink package that does monk fruit with, this apparently doesn't seem to affect, so if you're diabetic, this is really good. I'm going to spell it wrong. Erythritol. Now that's not spelled maybe you can find that for me, Max. It's called erythritol.
ERYTHOTOL, I believe.
Erythritol. Okay.
I know.
I didn't spell it right. So the one that I have in my house right now, it came in a little white with a little pink label, and it's monk fruit with the erythritol. That's spelled wrong, I know for sure. Erythritol. The two together. And when I take that, if anybody's on a keto diet, when I have a little bit of that in something that I make, my I check my urine for ketones, and it doesn't affect my fat burning that I'm doing. So it doesn't, your body doesn't recognize it as like a sugar to spike your insulin. So that would be the one I would consider is some kind of monk fruit sugar. And it looks like sugar almost. It's very fine, but you taste it, it's sweet, but it doesn't have the same feeling on your tongue, if you know what I mean.
How about Splenda?
Okay, so I will tell you guys this, because my mom used to use all of those things. Splenda, there's Sweet and Low. Those things are all chemicals. I don't like them. Some people use stevia. I don't like stevia anymore because they got this erythritol with the monk fruit that tastes way better. Stevia can have a little bitter aftertaste. So, we're talking a lot about sugar because sugar and salt affects our heart. It affects our blood pressure. So cancer loves sugar. So, these are all things to look at. Agave, okay, agave is like a natural sugar. Agave is kind of like honey to me. They're healthier sugars. It still spikes your insulin. Honey has all these enzymes. Agave is kind of a sweet nectar that's probably healthier than the refined white sugar. But in terms of diabetes or spiking your, getting glucose in your blood, agave is just kind of like almost just as bad as sugar, kind of. It's just that you feel better because it's a more natural source. Stevia can be too sweet. You only need pinches of stevia because it's just like 10 times profile bigger than sugar. All right. So
one of the things that I read online, they have things to buy at Costco and things not to.
Yeah.
And one of the things they said not to was the spices, because you can't use them up fast enough before they get old.
Yeah, because you're buying them in big bulk things. Sometimes like we go through a lot of garlic powder for some reason. But I'm telling you, save up your money, check out this burlap and barrel. It's so lovely to see which farm it's coming from, what they grow, what their livelihood is. If you want to support people around the world trying to make a living, and you're sourcing, like this is what the chefs use. That's why their food tastes so good. They're not using the 2-year-old garlic powder you have in your house. Like I'm with you. Like I don't throw anything out. I don't like to throw anything out. So, but we do need to do a little revamp of our spices in our house. So there's lots of great classes out there. This one, actually, I call it nutrition basics, optimal brain health. After today, I'm doing arthritis class again today because it sold out yesterday. It's almost sold out today, but I'm doing it in another hour if you want to come to arthritis class. There's lots of great classes, and we're coming up with more and more ones. Let's look for the laughter one. Why don't you say that you want to see that one? Because that would be kind of cool. Frozen meals from Heart and Home Meals, safe to consume. There are frozen meals. Just check the labels. They have to put it on the labels. If you see on the labels, I don't know this particular Heart and Home Meals, but if they put ingredients, if your sodium is cranked up, think about if you're eating that every day, you're having elevated sodium every day when you're having packaged food. So just check, is it homemade, and they package it and you can eat it right away. So check that. So try to do the feedback if you can. You can invite friends now. You get this button once you've signed up for something, then the button pops up. And then you can suggest new classes to us, which is amazing if you want to suggest some things. Like after I get off this class, I'm going to check and see if we've got the laughter class. I hope so. I'm too shy to teach it. Like I'm a pretty shy person. I would have a hard time facilitating a laugh class. I would go to one, but I think I would have to be one of you, like in the background. I don't know if I could actually do the class. But then again, I see Ty and Glenda does meditation. Ellen, she does all these like Qigong stuff, and I'd just be too shy to do all that, I think. Anyways, yeah, it's fun to do. I know. I feel I'm just like shy, I guess. I'm born shy, and so I feel I wouldn't want to look silly in front of anybody. But then of course we're all doing the movements, right? Oh yeah, Ageless Grace. I've done Shirley's hustle class, like learning the hustle or learning how to do the line dancing. That's a lot of fun.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. Does anybody else have any questions? We've still got a few minutes, so I can answer any questions. I could say one thing about sugar for all of you. If you can be brave to do the sugar detox, what you will do is reset your taste buds. Did you know that right now our taste buds are kind of a bit out of whack because the food industry puts sugar in everything? I just talked about this yesterday, and I always tell everybody because I was so appalled. I mean, yeah, ketchup, you expect that there's going to be sugar in ketchup. There's some things that we kind of know, pop, if it's not sugar-free, there's like teaspoons and teaspoons and teaspoons of sugar in our pop or soda pop. But my hash browns, like I was really angry when my potato patties, I checked every single brand and they all had dextrose in them. And that's just a fancy word for sugar. They don't taste sweet, but they put sugar in there. And why do they put sugar in our foods? Do you guys know why they put sugar in our food?
For the taste.
To encourage us to eat more.
Yeah. It's not even the taste because well, it does in some ways make it, this is really interesting. But like when you eat a potato patty, for example, it doesn't taste sweet, but it just gets they're secretly putting sugar into your body. Like, not to be a conspiracy person, but they're putting sugar into our body. Then what happens? We crave more. So we're going to eat more of their product. Therefore, we're going to buy more of their product. Joyce, did you want to say something?
Yes. Could you recommend me some kind of detox tea or herb or whatever? Because I would like to.
This will be the simplest way for everybody if you want to try and cut out sugar. Now, we did it cold turkey because my husband was in on this, and he just said, okay, we'll just stop having sugar. He's got the really good eyes. He read every single label of everything in our house. We got rid of a couple sauces that were just full of sugar. We didn't even realize they were high in sugar. So your taste buds are numbed because we've been eating so much sugar. And we're, as humans, we genetically, from way back in ancestor time, have this thing. If they found a honeybee, what am I talking about? If they found honey when they were out doing their hunting and gathering, if they're out
honeycomb,
honeycomb, there you go. That's
Yeah.
what I was thinking of. If hunters way back years and years and years ago saw a honeycomb, their bodies would light up because it's in our genetic code to seek sugar. And if we have it, we crave more. It's not something we've become addicted to in these last few years. This has been in our DNA from years ago, years and years and years, thousands of years ago. So we know that. So it doesn't mean we can never have sugar, but our taste buds have been numbed with all the sugar that we eat. So our body never gets a break. Our pancreas never gets a break. We're constantly eating sugar, and we're craving it all the time. If you can just do a little detox, and what I mean by detox is cut out all the added sugar and continue to eat your fruit. Anything where sugar is natural, fine. But anytime when you read ingredients on something and it's added sugar, and they'll trick you, dextrose, they'll say, they'll make it sound more exciting. Like, I don't know, I can't think of it, but they'll make it sound more natural, but it's still sugar. They're adding sugar to the product. Don't eat those things. Simple detox, drink your warm water in the morning with a little bit of lemon in it. And that will help you to just not crave the sugar. You do it for 2 days, and I can guarantee you the next third day, you're just not going to be craving those 4 pieces of toast for breakfast. Like I'd eat 1 piece of toast, then I'd crave the second one. And I sometimes would eat a 3rd piece of toast in a sitting, and that, with eggs maybe, but I still ate 3 pieces of white bread in the morning.
I found out sugar-free candy is not sugar-free.
Yeah, they put all sorts. Anyways. So what do I do now? You can make a veggie smoothie. This is all veggies. This is cucumber, avocado, celery, and zucchini in here.
Spinach.
Oh.
I make spinach.
And spinach, yeah. And I've got my cube of spinach in here too. Now I drink this pretty much every morning. And if you want to make it a little sweeter, add a bit of apple to it. You've got to have one of those fast blenders that can break it down.
Like
Now,
yeah,
like a Bullet or a Vitamix or a Blendtec. Now, when I drink this, I taste a little sweetness because there's sweetness in broccoli. Did you know there's sweetness in broccoli? There actually is, but we're so numb to it. So if you cut out the actual refined sugar, you'll start to taste your food better, and you'll notice that we have sweetness in a lot of our foods. So
What do you think of the lemons that come in like a little sort of, they look like a lemon?
yes, yeah, I myself like to use fresh lemons, but yes, if you read the if it is just straight lemon juice, then you're fine. Or a lemon juice with one stabilizer, that's okay. But some of our lemon juice has sugar in it. Did you know that? They add sugar to everything.
The lemon itself is very sour, right? With the warm water.
Yeah, but I'm talking like a couple drops of lemon in your warm water. It helps to detox. Your liver really likes that little bit of lemon. You know how we use lemon, baking soda, and vinegar for cleaning, and lemon is one of the things that helps clean your counter. If you have a bit of lemon in your body with warm water, you're flushing out the toxins. It's a great way, a cheap way to do a detox versus buying one of these kits that's got all this stuff in it. Like, that's the easiest, cheapest way to detox your liver mildly, without getting into a healing crisis that they talk about when you release too many toxins all at the same time. I do lemon every day. Every day.
Do you cut it up into like 8, 10 pieces?
I put a little piece in it, and now I actually, through my company, a company that sells the food grade essential oils, I put 2 drops of lemon oil in my warm water, because it also helps to not affect your enamel of your teeth, because too much acidic from the lemon can affect your enamel of your teeth.
But you can add lemon oil and that will prevent it from happening?
Lemon oil doesn't affect your teeth. So that's what I started doing, is putting 2 drops of lemon oil from an essential oil, pure essential oil, food grade, into my, so Forever Young, doTERRA, those are 2 companies I know that sell the essential oils. So I hope you found this helpful today. I think that's probably, we're at our time, so we are being live streamed. So I want to thank you all for being here, and thank you for participating. I would love to see you in future classes, and let's see if we can find a laughing class and we can all go to that together, right? That'd be fun, right? Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you,
You're
Ravina.
welcome.
We made
Take
it.
care,
Thank
everybody.
you.
We'll see you again. Have a great weekend. All right. Bye, everybody.
Bye.